Hey everybody, I'm Tami Kiekhaefer. I'm a licensed clinical social worker.
And my name is Desiree Grimaldi. Welcome to Unguarded Minds podcast, where we talk about all of the gritty things that life throws at us and the drama and trauma. Today we have a special guest with us, Cindi. She's a single woman in her 30s who has been on about 50 plus dates in her adult life. She's a homeowner, a business owner, and teaches other women how to communicate their needs, ask for what they want, and not feel bad about it. She's a mental health therapist, an auntie, a cat mom, and working on becoming an author. She spent her summer saying yes to all date offers that came through to practice and challenge herself and her expectations. So we are so happy to have you, Cindi, and cannot wait to dive into all of this.
Thank you for having me. I love that bio.
So, 30s, single. What has that world been like? Like just trying to navigate because you're 30, so you've done the dating like face to face, meeting people in school or college, and now like this big shift to online dating. What has that been like?
Yeah, so not only online dating, but also I work solely from home. So I'm also here a lot more than the average person. And dating early was very much, yeah, like you see people, oh, they're cute, or, that sort of thing. And navigating dating in my 30s now, and even in my late 20s, because I don't know where y'all live, but I'm in the Midwest, and the Midwest is very classic marry your high school sweetheart or college sweetheart. So lots of my friends have been married for 10, almost 15 years at this point. And so dating for me too has been really interesting to navigate because I would say probably
I have to.
Boarding.
Okay.
Yeah.
So living at home, working from home, living in the Midwest. Okay.
Yeah. So every one of my friends, which is really kind of rare, is married and or partnered for long term. So the like, let me set you up with my friend, or those sorts of things has come and gone because then their friends are married or together, right? Like there's not a lot of single people in my circle, which is shocking to a lot of people because I am like perpetually single. It's been a long time since I've had a serious relationship. And so that's what I've tagged myself as the professional third wheel, because I have really cultivated super healthy relationships with my friends' partners. And so into my 30s now, I'm in a place that truly feeling pretty content on if it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't, it doesn't, which is a shift from my mid 20s where I was almost kind of like desperately seeking out this partnership. So online dating, I really struggle with online dating. It's like really only option out there, because I know in my heart and soul that they leave it to attraction level. And it's really frustrating. They have all the other information, but like the basic thing is, what does someone look like? And I've dated, people who are traditionally more attractive who couldn't keep a conversation, or people who maybe I'm not as attracted to, who were really great and wonderful. And then the other aspect of like chatting and texting and the things before you meet, the things that you want to know about someone before you meet, but once you meet them, they're totally different because behind a computer, behind their phone, they can answer and respond however they want, right? They have time to think about answers and what is she may like thinking about, like what she may want, right? What I may want. And so that has been, I've gone on some dates that I was very excited about. And then at the end of the night was like sorely disappointed because they were nothing like their profile or like they had been talking before. So I think ultimately my peace with being a single cat mom in my own house, like the cliche things that are supposed to be horrible societally, coming to like a content, peaceful place with that has allowed me to do the saying yes of going on a lot of dates without a lot of expectation or kind of less hurt if it doesn't go well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, going back to what you were saying about, the online dating and that first picture that pops up. And I mean, you could see someone who is kind of not in your normal dating, like, what you would normally date or what your vision is of, I'm going to go out with this type of person. And then you meet them and you're like, oh my gosh, 100%, yes, I'm all in. Or you can meet someone that's like, wow, just, super hot. And then you go out with them and you're like, hello?
Yeah.
Is anybody in there? I mean, it just, and then they're not attractive anymore. I just think that the attractiveness part, I think you're right. Like that can get so lost in this dating, online dating thing, because it's what you see, and then half the time is that really real?
Yeah.
What are some trends that you've seen on the dating app?
So I think that one of the things has been recently is like, and I don't see the other side of things. I am a cis het woman, and so I don't see what women are posting, right? And so I can't say that it's only men, but that's just my frame of reference. There's so little effort put forth into a dating profile that it is like a turn off immediately. Like they could be very attractive and in my preferred age range, and they haven't answered a single question. They haven't put, their career field or their political affiliation or their, locate, like where they were from, any of those things. And that's just like an immediate turnoff for me because, or actually, let me add that too. Or they also will put in the profile, online dating is so stupid. This is the worst thing ever. I'm like, then why are you here? Like, why even here? Yeah, I'm like, why are you here? Like, if you hate it, cool. But like, let's give me some information and say that you hate it. Like, I'm all for like, let's get rid of this, right? I think it was Bumble or Hinge's tagline for the longest time was like, so that you get off the app, like we're an app so you can get off the app or something like that. So yeah, that's everybody's intention, but also like if you're just coming in with that, or another trend that I've been seeing is straight up hating on women in a profile, like you women are terrible, you never follow up, you never want to like actually go on dates, all you want is this. I'm like, first of all, I'm sassy and independent. Don't tell me what to do. Like, that's the first thing I read. It's like, what? And the second thing, I'm like, then again, why are you here? And like, what person are you looking for that's going to agree with you that like women are horrible if that's who you're trying to attract? Like, it doesn't really make sense. Trying to think if there's any other trends that I've noticed. Yeah, the vagueness is a big one. And then probably say to like the lack of initiation or effort after there is a match, like an attraction. Okay, liked you, I hearted you, I swiped right, whatever the phrasing is of which app. And then the conversation is so dry. And Tami, your licensed social worker, like, I'm like, sometimes you don't have to ask questions. We can make conversation by just like, agreeing or disagree. Like there's so much to make a conversation. And so if early on you can't even ask me like what my favorite color is, I don't even care. But if you can't even ask me like simple, what's your favorite food? I don't really like small talk, but I know that it's a necessary evil. And if you can't even make that effort, like, I'm like, okay, this isn't working out. And they're like, why not? You think it is? Like, you think this is going well? So that's another one too.
Is this over texting, or is this once you get them on the phone, or both?
This is straight in the app. Like, we've both said we're attracted to each other. We both liked each other. And even like multiple now have like provided prompts, if you like a prompt in the app, you can, just use that to step off of. Like, my favorite place to travel is Turkey. have you ever been? And then it's like, hey, what's up? I'm like, I like handed on a silver platter. Like, that's a great place to start talking about travel or things like that. So that is another one that I've noticed is like that lack of effort. And sometimes I don't think that it's necessarily effort, except potentially compatibility too. Like, if you match and you realize you have absolutely nothing in common, or if it feels dry. So I tend to nix things before numbers are exchanged at all a lot of the time.
Yeah, makes sense.
Do you think it's just maybe a lack of unknowing? Because I think the male species aren't as communicative as we are. Do you
Mm-hmm.
think that some of it is maybe just like they feel so awkward in it, like that they don't know how to respond, or they don't know how to? It was that like what the purpose of the year yes was, like just to kind of like, okay, let's get off the app, let's get face to face, let's get real. Was that kind of part of the experiment of that?
Absolutely. Yeah, that was a lot of it because, that's another big hate on the on the prompts is like things about me is I hate being pen pals or I hate texting for too long. And then, as a female in the dating world, we have people could be dangerous. Men could be like, don't let them pick you up. This could be right. So like you want to get a feel for someone a little bit. So I think there's that happy medium. And my perception is that men think that we just want to chat, 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 chat. And women think that like you're just trying to get me to go out for, physical, you want to take me home, or you're dangerous, you're being really pushy, right? Like, so there's, and everything, I think there's a happy medium to it. So at this moment, my profile says, I want to talk for at least 3 days in the app, and then I want you to invite me out. Like, I just straight up say, this is what I want. Because I'm not trying to like play that game when it's what I feel like who's going to initiate? Do I have to be like, so when are you going to take me out? Do they have to like set a time, place, location? And the answer to all of those is no. So I just want like, hey, do you want to get together? Sure. And then we can collaborate. But I got really tired of like guessing what people wanted to talk about, people wanted to do, their intentions. Another trend is on Hinge specifically, there is an option for figuring out my dating goals. So you're looking for long-term, short-term hookups, right? And figuring it out. That one's really frustrating to me because generally it's a way to say I'm actually looking to hook up or for something short-term, but I don't want to just straight out say it. So the year of yes was very much that like summer of yes was very much, all right, immediately, like, cool, you want to grab coffee? Cool, you want to grab breakfast? Cool, you want to grab a drink? Like just pretty much right away. So I lowered my radius as well. Like, so it was people who were local. And I was also, I've been back in Indiana. I moved back from North Carolina in 2019. So, and then the pandemic. So 2022 was kind of like my rebirthing of like, hey, I live here. I live in this new place. So there were a lot of people who I could go on a date with who I'd never met, never seen, never, those sorts of things. So it made it a little bit easier. And so the conversation piece is really hard for like the Mars and Venus of men's expectations and women's expectations for sure.
I love that you were just like, bam, here's what I want. 3 days in the app, take me out. Like, there it is. Yeah. And I think that goes along with, when you're reading people's profiles, like you work in mental health too then, right? Yeah. So just understanding, like, read between the lines. When you read someone's profile, what are you picking up? Is there some anger? Is there some control stuff? Is there some jealousy stuff? Is there, what are little teeny red flags that could be accurate, could be misinterpretation, but same, on yours, like, here's what I want. And then, so you're kind of looking for someone who's assertive and who's ready to take charge and follow through. And, like take charge, like do something. So there's so much in people's profiles. I think that they, for people who aren't going to put the time and effort into their profile, there's your energy attraction. You're probably going to get someone who might not put the time and effort into a relationship. So there's so
Yeah.
much you can read into as far as profiles go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will, because I have therapist hat Cindi, and then just like regular woman looking for a partner Cindi. I will often I don't like just toss my phone to friends and have them match, but I will sit with some of my good girlfriends and have them read things with me, because sometimes I read a little too much into it, or I pick up signs that like they look at me and they're like, Cindi, you have to you have to see if that actually happens. Like, you're making an assumption, right? Because I've known that about myself, and historically I have been very much the assertive, the like taking initiative, that sort of thing, because I just don't like wishy-washy. And that has been another thing that I've been trying to take a back seat on, which is where the like, can you please plan a date? Like, I will say yes if you plan a successful date in a time frame that I have available. Like, I'm not going to play around here. And so some of that has been the shift of, because I was taking initiative every time, and some people just aren't open to that, or it feels pushy, or you're taking advantage of me. I also tend to tell, like, if we're planning a date, I immediately ask, like, this comes across as weird, but I just want to know, are you planning to pay, or do you want to split? Because that awkward, like, oh no, let me pay, like, and then they're like, no, I got it. And all these things that go with that. There's like major wires crossed. There's also men that still think that if they pay for your dinner, you owe them something. That absolutely exists. Well, I paid your dinner, or, well, then you can pay me back, or, right, like those sorts of things. So I've learned and cultivated my profile to speak to all of those things that straight up annoy me, and drive me crazy.
So did you create your profile after your year of yes? Like, did you revamp it after you learned all these things? Okay.
I did. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Tami does a thing with some people she works with where she makes them create profiles, and we talk a lot about it in her relationship stuff. And a lot of times we're like, if you just like to like chill on the couch and watch Netflix on Saturday, like just fucking put that, because somebody else out there wants to do that too. They don't want the long beach walk, and they don't want to go hiking 10 miles. Like, they want to lay on the couch and watch Netflix. You're more likely to find your people that way.
Mm-hmm. Mine currently says that I am what has been titled as outsidey. That's what they call it, instead of outdoorsy. We made it up. In that I love to hike to see the view, and then I'm done. Like, I don't like going on the adventure. I don't like the bugs. So I say like I like to sit on patios. I like to go to the beach. I like to be outside, but that doesn't mean whitewater rafting and hunting and fishing and, gathering mushrooms. That was popular just about like a month ago up here. And so I definitely do. I think that's so important. And then if somebody's like, hey, do you want to go, whitewater rafting? I'm like, no. And nowhere in my profile says that I would be interested in that, So I think that is just really important, because I think a lot of people do put stuff out there, like the long walks on the beach and, wake up at 4:30 to ride on my Peloton and read the newspaper before my coffee. Like, I don't believe 90% of people that say some of those things. I'm like, do you? Do you really? So, because it's so kind of cheesy at this point.
So when you come across, and let's say your first date, and like things are kind of weird, nothing like super red flag, creepy weird, but like not really meshing. Have you tried giving them like a second date to see, like, was it the first date awkwardness? Have you tried going beyond first date, or do you kind of just make your decision based on first date?
I tend to try second date. One of my I can talk about a good dating experience that I had was I matched with a guy and we decided to meet up pretty quickly. He lived kind of not far away, but he would happen to be in town for his job. And cool, let's get lunch. We met up for lunch. We had great conversation for like 3 or 4 hours. We sat at lunch, and I got home and my bestie called me and she was like, how did it go? And I was like, it was really great. And it kind of felt like really platonic. Like I wasn't like physically attracted. And I kind of was like, maybe that's a good thing because when I'm physically attractive, do I like, move too fast, like that sort of thing. And so the next day I checked, I was like, hey, we haven't really spoken. Like, how did you feel about, I think it was on a Saturday. How did you feel about Saturday? And he was like, I thought it was great. Albeit I think that it was a little platonic. And I was like, oh my gosh, me too. Like, wow, we both are on the same page. And so I made just kind of a joke out of it that I was like, all right, so we have some options. We can either pretend like we never spoke to each other. We can try again and like take off work talk because we had a lot in common from my previous job and what he currently did. So I was like, we take work talk off the table because we did have a lot in common. Or 3, we can exchange numbers and just be friends because it's hard to come by in the Midwest for somebody that like gets along that well. And he laughed and was like, let's do number 3. So we exchanged numbers and we've touched base like when I'm in his town, like we'll like grab a drink or grab lunch. And it's truly platonic. And I'm like, if only every termination was this beautiful, because most of the time I will do a second date if it was kind of just okay, just kind of that neutral. Because I think that I went on a date right post COVID, a lot of people were inside, not talking to many people, but they're like kids, if they had kids, or their workspace. And so I went on a date and it was so awkward. I felt like I was pulling teeth, but we had wonderful communication, phone and texting prior. And it was a little bit more prolonged because of COVID, right? So like we got vaccinated, we got like started to kind of explore, get out a little bit, and gave him a second chance. And afterwards he's like, yeah, I don't think I'm ready. And he took accountability. And I was like, I told you I'll have like lots of funny stories. I also have some good ones. But like the second date, I think is imperative if it's just okay, because I think the first date jitters are really important. I know that when I'm nervous, I talk a lot. So I'm like, when they do it, I'm like, maybe they were just nervous. Maybe they didn't want to pause for like, if I ask any questions, like try to give benefit of the doubt. But I've been on a couple dates that are like monologues, and I usually don't give them a second chance. Like, did you realize that you did not ask me a single question or incorporate me into your conversation at all? So yeah, second dates come when I'm kind of on the fence, for sure.
Okay. I was going to say, so how do you know when to point out, like, hey, you didn't ask me any questions about myself and I don't really care for that? Or it kind of felt platonic? Or how do you know, just for you, when to clarify some of that and talk about your expectations, or when to just hang it up, or when to say, let me give you a second chance, maybe a third chance to see where things go?
In my best therapist speak, I always ask them what their perception of the date went, how they thought it was, and really put it in their court to see kind of how they perceived it. And I have had absolutely horrible dates where I got up and left early. When I got home, I had a message from them asking if we can do it again. So like perception of how things went is very subjective, apparently, even if I try to make it as clear as I can. So oftentimes I ask them how they thought, and if it's fairly similar, like had a good time, but like, didn't know if I felt the connection, would be up for it, I'll usually kind of roll with that, unless it's completely opposite of my thoughts on how something went.
So what would that terrible date be where they're like, oh, let's do it again, and you're like, God, I never want to do that again?
Yeah, that one was the year of yes. That was the summer of yes. He was someone I would absolutely not normally say like swipe on or like. Just definitely some traits that I, am just not normally attracted to. And profile actually had some funny things in it, and I was like, okay. Said he was a comedian. Okay. So I set up like, let's just do a drink, because I was still kind of on the fence, but this was yes. I had to say yes. I was doing yes. And set up a drink, and I actually have a local restaurant bar that has become my place that I feel very safe with. I know a couple of the waitresses, so they can also kind of gauge how things are going. Bring the check earlier. It's really convenient. The URES really opened to me to meeting new female friends as well. But that date specifically had a comedy set that night, and comedy shows go really late. So we weren't going to meet up till like 10. It was the weekend. I had to take a nap earlier in the day because I don't go out past like 9 p.m. normally, but I was going to say yes if that's what it was. So I went to the date. I sat there. I had a beverage by myself waiting, and every message was like, oh, we're still running late. Oh, we're still running late. But at this point, I'm already out. I'm like, I put makeup on, I dressed, put clothes on. And so I waited. It was, I think it was like 11:15, 10:45, maybe like 11:15. And he showed up, and
he was an hour and 15 minutes late.
Yes. And so that's how I met one of the waitresses. She sat down. He did give me heads up. He was keeping me updated. So I really tried. So he sat down, asked what I wanted to drink. I got another beverage that I had been, and immediately starts telling me about his set. His set was not only racist, but it was misogynistic. And I just kind of stared at him. I didn't say those things because people have different humors. I already knew like this isn't going to work out if you feel like this is okay to speak in public about this. But I was like, all right. So just kind of nodded. Like he'd say something funny and I would not laugh because it wasn't funny to me. And then he began to make under the breath but not quiet comments about the women. Like there was a female table of 5 women, group of 5 women, who were having a great time at 11:30 on a Saturday night. They'd been there since I'd been there. Didn't bother me at all. He started making comments about how obnoxious they were, and he wished they would shut up, and can't wait till they frickin' leave, and like I just kept looking at him like. So finally I said, they're not bothering anyone but you, I don't think. Like they've been here for a while. And so he kept making comments. Finally, one of the women heard, and they stood up to leave, and he made another comment of like, about damn time. And one of them got into their car and like called him many a names as she drove off. And this was after he had made a couple other like racist comments that he felt were appropriate because of his ethnicity. And so I stood up after she yelled. I was like, yes, I would have done the same. I would be in her shoes right now, and I'm on the date with this guy. Like this is like totally against all my values. And so I got up and I said, I think we're done here. And started to walk out, and he pays for the tab, which I did not even like, it didn't even cross my mind that, oh yeah, I had a beer or whatever. So I start walking to my car, and he follows me to my car and tells me that he was really nervous and, never once apologized, just gave excuses. Like he was really nervous. Those jokes were funny. He's a comedian. So like he pushes the line sometimes. And I was like, it seems like you really hated women tonight. And that's me. I am woman. Like so it feels, even if you weren't attacking me, if you're talking to women like that just out loud, what are you thinking of them in your inside thoughts? Like, so he goes, we're not going to get another date, are we? And I said, I think it ends here. So I get in my car and I drive opposite because he was scary at that point that he followed me in my car, all these things, opposite direction, make sure he turns the other way, finally go home. And granted, this was like around a city block. This was not anything like I didn't drive miles out of the way. Mm-hmm. And he's the one that night messaged me, can I try again? You're right. I was really awkward. And he used awkward. He used like tired. He used all these reasons, except I just might be an asshole. Like that might be, yeah. So yeah, that one was one of them that, And I've seen him around like downtown and out to restaurants and such since. And he'll always just kind of make eye contact and then divert. He's never tried to approach me again. But yeah, that's another hard part about the smallness of it. Fort Wayne's the second biggest town in the state, but it is not. It doesn't feel that way. So when you go on awkward, bad dates, I often run into them elsewhere because everybody kind of runs the same popular spot. So that's a little weird sometimes too.
Have you tried to expand like your search, I guess, like further away where maybe it isn't like the meeting up quickly? It's kind of like taking a month, taking a couple months to kind of really communicate and get to know each other that way. And then, I mean, because eventually if you meet the right person, the commute isn't going to be a problem.
Right. The one that I talked about that we did that, he was from about an hour and a half away. And so when I will delete the apps or deactivate them every so often where I'm just done for a moment. Usually it's when it says you're out of people in your radius. And I'll like start to expand. So I'll expand by like 5 miles. Like I'll tend to like very strategically. And that one in particular, the length of time was actually harmful for us because we were compatible as all get out via text and phone conversation. Like I was like, this is the man of my dreams. Like we're going to get married. Like again, I like to use the word inside thoughts. Like I was like, we're so compatible. Like the things that I did, he supported, where a lot of men tend to like diminish or feel intimidated by what I do for a living or that sort of thing. And so and then the spark was just not there. It was so disappointing. And I was like, can we go back to just being really cool pen pals? Like, because that was pretty great. So I've dated a few people from a bit away, and generally like the alternating dates, like I'll come to you, you come to me, is okay. And I actually prefer it. I've often told people that if somebody traveled for work, became I would totally be up for that. Like people like want to be with their partner all the time. That's not me. You want to go hang out with your friends? Cool. Cause I want to go hang out one-on-one with my girlfriend. Like I really like my time alone and that sort of thing. I've also went on a date with someone and at the end of it, he started crying. And I was like, I don't understand. It was a wonderful date. Such connection. It was so good. Again, lots in common. He was married. That's why. So he was guilty, so guilty that felt so guilty he couldn't even wait till I was home to break down, which then what do? Like console this person because they feel guilty or tack on and be mad at them for lying to you? Like I was just like, all right, I'm going to go home now. Bye. Like, so, and that one was after a 2-hour drive. I agreed to meet him in his neck of the woods. So I get a little hesitant because I really genuinely think that, again, my perspective is just because I only see men, so I don't know if it's both ways, but that there's just a lot of misinformation, lying that happens behind the guise of a phone or, or computer or whatever.
Yeah, we've talked to some men, and it's definitely the women too.
I'm sure.
We've heard some horror stories. Yeah, only because like listening to you and stuff and about how small the area is and like the run-in and stuff. A lot of times when you're in a small town, like you get comfortable and everything seems so complacent because it's like, oh, this is who I am, this is where I'm from. Everybody knows how I am. And so they don't think like this person doesn't know me. So my humor, my body language, whatever is going to come across a certain way. So I was just wondering like what that radius, because you said you moved there from North Carolina.
Right?
Yeah. How is it? Were you on dating apps or anything in North Carolina? Like,
well, it was kind of the same thing in North Carolina. My last spot, I was in Asheville, North Carolina.
and an hour from there.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's so I went to so why it was kind of similar is because I went to undergrad there. And then I moved away and then I actually dated someone I was dating someone that was still living in Asheville at the time when I moved away. And so when I moved back, he was still there. We attempted to rekindle things, but like nothing was kind of really coming of it. So I was in this weird sticky place of like, but what if I see him on here? What if he sees me on here? We're not, this like really messy lack of communication thing that was going on. But it was also very small, because of like the things that I like to do, the things that they like to do, like we're all together in the, city sports leagues and, like that same kind of thing. So even though there was a lot more people, it still felt very small. And so I really struggled there too. I think that there's also a lot of ambiguity in like sexuality, in more progressive cities and such, where meeting people in person was really hard. If strike a conversation, this is great. Can we exchange numbers? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gay, Cindi. Like, oh, can we still exchange numbers? Like, can we be friends? Like, because that was really great, or like things like that. So that was another factor there. And then my previous job, I worked with college students. Before that, I worked with college students. And at that time, the algorithms were not high tech enough that even if I said older than 26, if they said older than 27, they were going to see me. And I was like, I'm not about to have my people that I work with, like friends, be like, saw Cindi on dating apps, or, like that sort of thing. So I was like basically a recluse when I was there, because I was so worried that I was going to like match with the star football player and my face was going to be plastered all over the news or something. They were all of age, but I just had a lot of fear. And so I feel like when I go to bigger cities to travel, I will turn on my apps if I have them like deactivated. And it's not so much like I'm going to find someone here if I'm like in San Diego, California, or, somewhere, but it's also like, oh yes, okay, I am attracted to men. I am attracted to these people's profiles. There is possibility that people can have good profiles, because sometimes I feel like that the sample size is so small that I start to believe that this is how it all is, or maybe I'm just not attracted to anyone, or things like that. So, I think that, and there's a lot of similarities in the Midwest that I left for a reason. I have no interest in farming and hunting and fishing, and 90% of the people on these apps do. So that immediately narrows things down too.
So what other dating methods have you tried? You've been on different apps. What else?
Mm-hmm.
What other, like, people are always saying, how do, it's so hard to meet people. What kind of advice or suggestions do you have?
Yeah. I will do, so I have joined a couple when I was in Asheville. I joined a couple of sports leagues. That was really good. Met some people. And because you get to see them like every week, even if you're not playing their team, they're before you or after you. You all go out and get dinner afterwards and what have you. So that was pretty successful. That was way more successful than apps. Joining sports leagues, like adult sports leagues. There is like chess leagues and such. Like, it doesn't have to be, well, I'm not athletic. Like, you can do, there's so many things out there. And then I really asked, I had to be really transparent. I thought that things were going to be like the movies, and my friends were going to be like, oh my gosh, I have this perfect man for you. Let me set you up. And that rarely ever happens. So I had to be very transparent and be like, if you know someone, if you're talking to, your husband's younger brother and he's single, like, you think there could be, like, please set me up, please. And that's probably happened, say, like 3 or 4 times. And none of them have been terrible. I don't know if they were on their best behavior because we had mutual people in common, but none of them were terrible. They were all pretty good dates. One of them turned into like a 2-3 month, like short-term thing. And really it wasn't like a terrible ending. It just kind of like fizzled out. So that too.
So that's good.
What was that?
That'll make a friendship awkward. So that's good.
Yes, that too. That too. Especially if they're related. That's always rough. I did have that probably like, oh my gosh, well over 12 years, I was probably, while I was still in undergrad, a friend tried to set me up with her cousin, and he was a complete jerk. And I was like trying to complain to her, and she was like, he's my relative. And I'm like, well, he's a jerk. So that one was awkward for a while. And then I also will sometimes I will force myself out of my house, which I don't prefer to do. I really like to sit on my couch and watch Netflix most of the time. I will force myself out of the house and I will go sit at a bar. Early, I'll go like 7 or 8 before everyone's there so I can get a spot. I'll introduce myself to the bartender, so that, like, you know, I have someone to talk to if I'm not just sitting there. And then hopefully, you know, meet someone sits next to me, that sort of thing. I'm still trying to get the rom-com sitting next to someone on an airplane too. That's been unsuccessful. Meet the love of your life on the way to, you know, a foreign country or whatever. That one hasn't worked, but I do have to force myself out when I'm feeling more motivated to date, because I know that I can't meet anyone from the comforts of my house. So I will do that. I'll go sit and do things, or I'll go to, we have a minor league baseball, so I'll get a couple of my friends to go with me. I utilize the third wheel a lot, where I will go with a couple, so that it's not hard to see that, like, I'm the single one, right? If you go with like a group of girls, like, you don't know who's single, who's dating. So I will utilize that sometimes of like, hey, do you and your husband want to go to the baseball game or to the farmer's market? Things like that. So I feel like
being the third wheel is not always bad. Yeah.
It's not. Yeah. Yeah. That is my intention of kind of the aspiring author aspect, is really focusing on like how to be okay with it, because a lot of people aren't okay with their friends' partners. And I don't know if I'm blessed or I've cultivated the relationship, but I really do enjoy 99% of my friends' partners and husbands. And so, which helps to not feel lonely. Like, they're not, because they're also good humans who aren't going to leave you out, or, you know, go sit in the corner and canoodle and leave you to your own, right? Like, very much inclusive and including me. And so I think that that's important too, like who you surround yourself with, because if I'm surrounding myself with really like insecure, like desperate women who want relationships, like it's almost going to be like a competition, because it's not every single time someone walks through the door that you find them attractive, right? So that like narrows it way down. So then it feels almost like a competition. Even if no one's saying it out loud. If I go with a couple single girls, then like everybody's fighting for the few in there that we might be attracted to, you know? So I tend to pair myself with couples when I go out, if it's not alone.
We're going to title this "Looking for a Few Good Men in India."
Seeking it, please. Yeah, I know they exist. My circle yet.
You need to do like you did the summer of yes. You need to do like the summer of being out this summer.
I know. Yeah,
like set
just
3 days
being
a
out.
week to know that you're gonna be going somewhere, doing something that you enjoy doing, though, so that you're meeting people that also enjoy it.
Yes. Yeah. I definitely, Fort Wayne is really known for their fests. Like every single weekend from May to August is like German Fest, Greek Fest, Rib Fest, Bourbon Fest, Taco Fest. Like it's just the entire summer. And I hate it. It's too many people, all confined, all in the same space, like loud music. I sound like an old lady when I always talk about how loud music is, I swear. But I've gone to 2 out of the 3 that they've hosted so far with that intention of like, I need to be seen. Even if it doesn't like right there, you're not talking. If you are 2 weeks from then, like at a bar or at a coffee shop, hey, I think I saw you at, you know, this park or whatever. So I've been definitely making a little more effort. I think I had a big crutch with moving here and 6 months later, COVID happening. So I got really comfortable with being at home. I'm an introvert and Everyone's like, how do you do it? I can't, I need to see people. And I'm like, I'm good with FaceTime. I'm good with text. Like, it's fine. So it did take me, because that was my intention when I first moved back. I'm like, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to become like person that says, yeah, does everything. And then COVID occurred, and I was like, oh, I guess I can put that on the back burner for now. So this year's been a little bit more of that effort being made.
Good. I think it would be so fun to have you back on when you you find that person that you that connect with in person, online, just the package. And like, I want to hear the story. It'll happen.
Yeah.
Getting yourself out there.
I'll shoot you an email.
Yeah, your confidence, it seems like it's intact. It's gonna happen for you.
Yeah. We shall see. I'm waiting. Yeah.
So if somebody does see this, how would they even know how to find you?
They can find me. My Instagram is probably the best way. It's at the Cindi Project. So CINDI, the Cindi Project. It's coined after the Mindy Project show that came out. So changed it. It was too fitting. Professional woman seeking man. Like, it was too fitting. I was like, all right, I got to go with it, and it was available.
Perfect. Okay. Cool.
Well, it was so great having you come and chat with us. I know that online dating and dating in general is a sore subject, an activity that people are not enjoying as much as they once used to, and something that Tami really focuses on helping men and women do better. So it was great speaking with you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's a good conversation.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we wish you the best and hope you find Mr. Perfect soon, and hopefully through this
Thank
podcast.
you. Yeah, there we go. That would be a really good story for y'all. There you go. Some good promotion for sure.
All right. Take care.
Bye.